Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating, deeply esoteric, and honestly, intensely apocalyptic source text. It's titled The Sovereign Alchemy of Sin and Human Destruction. Right from that title, you can kind of tell we're about to enter a highly complex, almost surreal mythological framework. As someone who absolutely loves breaking down structured information, I can tell you this text is a wild ride. It weaves together elements of true crime, psychological thriller, high-stakes occultism, and just straight-up cosmic doom. We're going to examine this piece objectively today, treating it as an anthropological study of a really unique narrative. To really grasp the world this text drops us into, we have to start with this visceral hook, right from the source material. Death is a symbolism of black magic. In this universe, death and suffering aren't just natural occurrences. They're active, weaponized tools. They represent a literal sense of power for the antagonists in our text. It sets the stage for a narrative where human vulnerability is exploited on a massive, almost theatrical scale.
Chapter 1. The Sovereign Alchemy. In any complex mythology, the author creates a specific lexicon we need to decode. And at the heart of this system is what the text explicitly calls a religion of untruth. According to the source, this is a twisted framework where antagonists achieve a false sense of power by projecting sins that someone suffers in my name. Literally, by transferring that guilt onto an innocent party, the perpetrator gains an illusory dominance. This religion of untruth thrives entirely on the imperfections of the human mind.
Chapter 2. Mechanisms of Earthly Control.
So our narrative starts out surprisingly grounded in earthly crimes. Specifically, the text talks about solving the murder case of forced psychotic cases of extreme abnormal disorder. We're introduced to a figure literally named, and I kid you not, this is his actual moniker in the text, Mr. Psychopath. The source states Mr. Psychopath got united with gang leaders who murder innocent civilians, who has a lot of money, using the most advanced chemicals and hypnotic action. It's a highly calculated, almost clinical approach to human destruction that blends the criminal underworld with forced psychological manipulation. Now, the crucial point here is understanding exactly why they're doing this. It's not just about the money, even though wealthy civilians are targeted. The ultimate goal is taking one into the realms of mind control that becomes the absolute source of power to rule. The antagonists are basically harvesting human autonomy to build their own dark sovereignty. Chapter 3. The Metaphysics of Sin. Okay, here's where the source material makes a massive pivot. We move from earthly crimes into a list of the main community of rituals that are consciously done. To understand these rituals, look at this dark inversion of a familiar concept, love, capitalized. It is absolutely not affection. In this mythology, they're using love as the only nature to draw someone in the games. It's strictly a deceptive bait, designed exclusively to trap innocent victims. And this brilliantly illustrates the convoluted spiritual trap laid out in the text. First, they use love to draw someone in the games. Then, they trap them and utilize their body as a medium to transfer energy with words that attracts and manifests the inner desire of projecting sins and living a long life. That's the exact phrasing. This is the metaphysical mechanics of how they achieve that devastating dominance we discussed earlier. Well, this complex abuse feeds directly into the dark world of the sinful souls of the devils. This is where Satan dominates with impurities in the mind that thinks evil and hurts and harms other conscious beings by manipulating them and taking their destiny into the world of suffering. The psychological abuse we saw on Earth, it's just a mirror of this much darker cosmic reality. Chapter 4. God's Fatal Experiment. Now the scale zooms way out to an apocalyptic viewpoint. All of this mind control and suffering, the text says, then it becomes God's experiment to observe the behavior of such souls, an experiment that reinforces the behavior that gives them rewards, and the culture that copies itself into the DNA of their seeds that ultimately leads to destruction of humanity. The spiritual corruption actually becomes a physical, genetic reality passed down through generations, which sets up this incredibly tragic conflict. The source tells us that the soul wants to remove sin and shine as righteous beings. That's the natural desire of the good. However, they were up against the unrighteous, those dominated by mental impurities. And the fatal flaw in this grand experiment? The righteous beings couldn't control the unrighteous. Which brings us to the bleak, literal climax of the source material. Because righteous beings couldn't control the unrighteous, they became powerful and destroyed planet Earth. The experiment ends in total annihilation, literally wiping out the entire planet and the humanity that inhabited it.
It is a really heavy, intense piece of writing, for sure. But taking a step back from the bizarre world of Mr. Psychopath and cosmic annihilation, it leaves us with a profound real-world question. How do extreme apocalyptic narratives like this help us process the imperfections of the human mind? Why do we, as a species, create such incredibly intense, dark mythologies to try and understand the mechanics of good, evil, and manipulation? It's a testament to our inherent need to structure and explain the darkness we sometimes see in the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive through the source material today. I'll leave you to ponder that question.